Hello everyone. In this video lecture, we will discuss about conditional compilation in C. Now, let us discuss what is conditional compilation. So, conditional compilation is basically a pre-processing task which is performed before the actual compilation of the program. And if we talk about conditional compilation, it helps us in to skip a particular part of the program before the compilation. And there are various preprocessor directives, various commands that can be used to perform conditional compilation. So number one is hash if def. What is the use of hash if def? It returns true if a macro is defined. We will discuss all of these preprocessor directives with the help of example. Let us first discuss the role of each of these preprocessor directive. Hash if and def. It will return true if macro is not defined. Next is hash undef. Hash undef will simply undefine some macro. Next is hash if. It is just like simple if, where we compare, we perform comparisons based on some conditions. So hash if will compare values of a macro. Hash else is just like else. It is an alternative of if. Next is hash elif. If we have multiple conditions, then we have used else if ladder. So just like that, in case of preprocessor directive, if we have multiple conditions or if we want to compare multiple values of a macro based on multiple conditions, so in that case, we'll be using hash elif. Next is hash endif. It simply ends the the pre-processing task or the conditional compilation. So let us discuss these with the help of example. So first one is hash if def. Hash if def returns true if a macro is defined. Let's take an example. Let's suppose I have defined a macro A whose value is 20. If I write hash if def A, so here I've defined a macro A whose value is 20. In main function, I've simply written hash if def A. That means here hash if def will check whether this macro has been defined or not. If this macro A is defined, then only it will return true and the consecutive statement will be executed. So here, as we can see, macro A is already defined. So in that case, this statement will return true. It checks whether the macro A is defined or not. Here it is already defined. So it will return true. And this printf statement will be executed and output of this code will be hash endif simply used to end the conditional compilation. So whenever we are using hash if def or hash if and def, we'll also have to use hash endif. Next is hash if and def. So hash if and def returns true if macro is not defined. So let's take an example. So here I've defined a macro A whose value is 50. Now in main function, I've written hash if and def. So hash if and def will check whether this macro is defined or not. Here we can see macro A is defined, so it will return false because hash if and def will be executed only if the macro is not defined. So in that case, this printf statement will not be executed and output of this program, that is no output. Nothing will be printed. Here if I have not defined this macro A, then in that case the output should be hello, because hash if and def we have checked whether this macro A is defined or not. As the macro A is not defined, so this printf statement will be executed and output will be hello. So next is hash undef. Hash undef simply undefines a macro. For example, so here I have defined a macro A whose value is 100. If this hash undef has not been here, then the output should be 100. But here I have used hash undef, and if I write A, hash undef A, what does it do? It will simply undefine this macro A. So now the macro has been undefined, so nothing will be printed. So no output. Sorry. This it will undefine this macro A. In this example, I have defined a macro A whose value is 100. Now, if I write hash undef A, so it will undefine this macro A, and here we have printed value of A. So it will print a garbage value. Or it will simply give, or it can give you an error, because here we have undefined this macro A. So next is hash undef. Hash undef simply undefines a macro. In this example, I have defined a macro A whose value is 100. Now, if I have printed value of A, the output must be 100. But before printf, I have written hash undef A. It will simply undefine this macro A, and output will be the compile time error is A is not declared. If hash undef has not been here, so output should be 100. So hash undef simply undefines a macro. Next is hash if. Hash if simply compares the value of a macro. For example, hash if A equal 20. Printf hello. So we have defined a macro A whose value is 20. Hash if will simply compare the value of this macro A. If this is true, then printf will be executed and output is hello. For example, I have mentioned here 30. So here it will simply compare the value of macro A, which is not equal to 30. So nothing will be printed and no output will be there. Next is hash else. Hash else is an alternative of hash if. It's just like if else. So here I've defined a macro A whose value is 20. First, it will check whether the value of macro A is equal to 30, which is not true. Then hash else will work and here by will be printed. Next is hash elif. So if we have multiple conditions, just like we have done in else if ladder, we can perform second comparison using hash elif A equal 30 printf I and third comparison we can perform like hash A equal 20 and printf by. So here I have performed multiple comparisons with the help of hash elif. So first condition is not true because value of macro A is 20. Then the control will goes to hash elif. Here second condition is also not true. So control will goes to next hash elif. It will compare whether value of A equal 20. Yes, it is true. So simply by will be printed. This was all about conditional compilation in C. Thank you.